nation of immigrants struggling to decide who belongs and who doesn't.
The promise we see in those who come here from every corner of the globe, that's always been one of our greatest strengths.
You hear all this debate.
A debate shaped by politics.
So why did Republicans do so poorly in the last election with Hispanics? I think it's basically immigration.
An economy hungry for skilled workers.
High-skilled immigrants have always been job creators, not job takers.
And families separated by laws.
Goodbye, Brooklyn. Goodbye, New York. Please take care about my kids.
A president's pledge to secure the borders breeds doubt on the American frontier.
We're very uneasy when we see people on our lands because we don't know if that guy's just looking for work or if he's committed a murder in another city.
Are you going to go to the Senate tomorrow?
Yes. 11 million lives hang in the balance. Washington is working on a fix, drafting the next chapter of immigration, the new face of America.
Immigration reform legislation will be introduced
of 8 U.S. senators
in the nation provide a path to citizenship for 11 million undocumented.
Citizenship should transcend pieces of paper.
At a hotel in downtown Washington, the undocumented at a conference look for a way to change their status.
I can.
Jose Antonio Vargas is a journalist, filmmaker, and immigration activist. In an essay in the New York Times 2 years ago, Vargas revealed he was an undocumented immigrant. It was also a way for him to advocate for the DREAM Act. Later, appearing on the cover of Time magazine, Vargas wrote about the uncertainty of his status.
I had a lot of kind of almost like survivor guilt, especially as it relates to like the young undocumented people, dreamers as they call it, right?
Angela Kelly from the Center for American Progress knows that Vargas brings clout to the immigration debate.
Jose Antonio Vargas is turbocharging this debate like no one ever could imagine, right? So you have this young man who came as a 12-year-old. His mom sent him on a plane, giving him what he thought was a green card so that he could live with his grandparents, because she knew there was nothing she could give him in the Philippines that could begin to approach his potential. So he comes here, he learns English by watching Cheers, The Golden Girls. He goes when he's 16 years old to get his driver's license, and he realizes, because he's told by DMV, you're here illegally.
Vargas became a reporter for The Washington Post and was part of the team that won a Pulitzer in 2008 for covering the mass shooting at Virginia Tech. But his secret was becoming harder to keep, and his grandmother was concerned.
The first thing she said on the phone call wasn't congratulations. The first thing she said on the phone call was, anong mangyari kung malaman ng tao, which means what's going to happen when people find out. I remember just going to the bathroom at one point in the 4th floor of the newsroom and just crying and sitting in the toilet because I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do.
Yes.
The New York Times article brought him notoriety. Vargas was asked to testify in February 2013 before the Senate Judiciary Committee.
Once there's 1 minute left, it'll turn yellow, just so that you know.
And then I talked to John about it, and he said that even if I go over,
it's fine. Yeah, no, it's not. No, absolutely. The mic will stay live.
Mr. Vargas, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman Lay, Ranking Member Grassley, and distinguished members of this committee. Ultimately, it took me 12 years to come out as an undocumented American. And in the past few years, more undocumented people, particularly young dreamers, are coming out, telling the truth about the America we experience. We dream of a path to citizenship so we can actively participate in our American democracy.
We are the dreamers!
Vargas made another appearance on Capitol Hill, this time with those he feels a close bond with, the thousands that came to Washington to make their case for legal citizenship.
I mean, I'm older than most of them, which is why when the President announced deferred action last summer, I didn't qualify because I was 4 months the age cutoff. But I feel like somehow we were all in this thing together.
Vargas takes certain lessons from history and makes them his own.
When I speak in front of crowds, I usually end it by quoting Martin Luther King, History will record that in this period of great transition, the strident clamor is not the bad people, but the appalling silence of the good people. We can't afford for the good people to be silent anymore. We need them to speak out. We need them to be on the right side of history, especially on this one.
History was made in November of 2012. U.S. President Barack Obama wins 4 more years in the White House. His victory is assured by weaving together a broad coalition of ethnic groups. Notably, 71% of Hispanic voters and 72% of Asian voters support the Democratic president. In his victory speech, he sends a nod to immigration reform, a key issue for America's 2 fastest-growing ethnic groups.
We believe in a generous America, in a compassionate America, in a tolerant America, open to the dreams of an immigrant's daughter who studies in our schools and pledges to our flag.
A stunned Republican Party looks for answers. Republican candidate Mitt Romney proposed self-deportation rather than a pathway to citizenship for the estimated 11 million undocumented people living in the U.S.
You have a high number of Republicans, a virtual stampede of Republicans after the election saying, wait a minute, time out, we need to do something about immigration and we need to fix the problem.
Eso es lo que le gusta a los republicanos.
Radio talk show host Alfonso Aguilar is one of those Republicans.
Tamar, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Alfonso. It's a pleasure to be here.
I was just saying that...
Alfonso Aguilar is a very important voice in the immigration debate in Washington, D.C. He's influential Latino voice. He's an influential Latino Republican.
$9.
Republicans want to recruit more Latinos, but we don't have enough yet. And outspoken, articulate, compelling ones like Alfonso are very important.
I think the only issue where Democrats and Republicans stood up to applaud the president was on immigration. Isn't that ironic?
It is so ironic. And now, as a result of the Latino vote, this is the one issue in Washington.
Aguilar says the Republican Party must rethink the role immigration plays in the U.S. economy.
We're just a few miles away from D.C. We find temporary workers, undocumented workers who are here. They're good, hardworking people who want a job, and they're here because they want to work.
His political views on immigration are rooted in his Catholic faith. He attends church several times a week.
When you're in church, in Mass especially, you realize that we're all the same, regardless if we have legal status, regardless if we're citizens or not. And before God, we're the same and we have the same dignity. The church has an important role in caring for the needy, the poor, and for the immigrants.
I'm so honored to be here with you guys.
Many Republicans think capturing the Hispanic vote is critical to the future success of the party. Candidates like Marco Rubio are what they need to achieve that goal. But not all agree.
Thank you.
Congressman Lou Barletta thinks reaching out to the Hispanic vote with immigration reform is not in the interests of the party's core values.
There's a lot of details here that I believe need to be explained to the American people before they buy this, this package that they're selling. All the while, we're encouraging more people to come here and take jobs away from 22 million Americans who can't find work. Is that fair?
At a conservative political conference near Washington, Republicans want to change their message and reach out to Hispanic voters.
So why did Republicans do so poorly in the last election with Hispanics? I think it's basically immigration. And it sent a message that the Republican Party is not open to immigrants. The perception was that the Republican Party is anti-Hispanic. There are many conservatives across the country and in Washington working to push immigration reform and to encourage Republicans to address the issue in a comprehensive way, in a common sense way. To me, this is one of the big problems, and you know, I believe that if, like Ronald Reagan believed, that if we're conservative, we should be for immigration, not against it. We're out of time. Thank you so much for being with us.
On the Arizona-Mexico border, ranchers want tighter security to be the centerpiece of immigration reform.
Something's going on.
Dan Bell raises cattle west of the border town of Nogales.
We hear in the news that the border's never been more secure, but at the same time, while you have areas that have never been more secure, you also have areas that are actually worse now because of the fact that other areas are secure. It's just basically funneled traffic through other areas.
Bell and his neighbors often come face to face with illegal border crossers and border patrol operations.
Today we were out and we had noticed Border Patrol agents had apprehended some individuals, but at the same time while they apprehended them, some people had took off and run. We happened to get to the border and witness a few people skirt back over through the border.
The agents must stop at the border. They do not have the authority to pursue suspects into Mexico. Ranchers are concerned for their safety. While working cattle, Bell has come across smugglers carrying automatic weapons. And 3 years ago, a neighboring rancher was shot dead by an illegal border crosser.
We're very uneasy when we see people on our lands because we don't know if that guy's just looking for work or if he's committed a murder in another city.
Dan Bell's ZZ Cattle Ranch covers 160 kilometers. 12 kilometers borders Mexico. He says illegal crossings happen daily on his land.
But you can see that this fence has been cut several times and we've had to repair it.
On most of his ranch, a barbed wire fence is all that stands between the U.S. and Mexico.
On our ranch, we've got about 8 miles of this type of fence. We actually have 2 miles of border fence that's actually a border wall. It's a bollard-style fence. Very hard to penetrate, but people can still climb over it. Here's some electrolytes. So they'll travel with electrolytes when they get dehydrated. We first started to notice on the landscape when we had the influx was the amount of trash that was being left behind. It's basically a drain on our business and in some respects. You know, it costs us, we have a lot more input costs, fixing fences, fixing our water systems that have been broken, putting cattle back to where they're supposed to be because we try and maintain a management system. You know, it costs us about $15 per hundredweight of beef that we sell. And so for us on this ranch, it's anywhere from $75 to $105 of additional costs on top of just related to border issues.
Bell says bigger fences, surveillance equipment, boots on the ground, and helicopters in the air are important. But he says the most cost-effective provision immigration reform could bring is an access road through remote areas that border agents can patrol.
I've seen it get better over time in certain areas, and so we just need to keep moving forward on it. We need to get with the folks that actually live in these areas that have the barbed wire fence as the actual border and ask them if things have gotten better or worse or if they're more secure or not.
There are also human costs to illegal immigration.
This old water jug they use.
Jerry Wolf, a former Navy SEAL, is chief of security at the 20,000-hectare Kings Anvil Ranch near Tucson.
Going in on a kind of a diagonal here. If they're up there.
50 kilometers from the Mexico border, this part of the Altar Valley is a major thoroughfare for human and drug smugglers.
At times, they have jump people up there.
He has spotted lookouts on the hilltops above the valley and is hiking up to investigate. The valley's dry desert climate often exceeds 38 degrees Celsius in summer. In Arizona, 500 people a year die trying to cross from Mexico. Human rights groups argue stepped-up border enforcement in populated areas have pushed crossers deeper into the wilderness, contributing to the deaths. Lawyer and human rights activist Isabel Garcia.
We have a human rights crisis here. Beyond separation of families, incarceration, the crisis that most affects us, those of us that have been here doing this long time, is the death at the desert, in the desert. People did not die before. Not that there wasn't any violence in imposing the border and that other people haven't died, but it wasn't part of the migration phenomenon with Mexico.
In the distance, Jerry sees something shining under some trees. He finds a layup or camp smugglers use to hide from Border Patrol helicopters.
Not even wet.
There are signs people were recently here.
Looking for IDs.
Jerry looks for evidence to hand over to the Border Patrol.
You find electrolyte bottles all over the desert. Cannabis.
Drug smugglers often keep small amounts of their cargo for themselves.
Ooh.
Nearby, there is a U.S. cell phone, which was probably used once to contact a pickup, then discarded.
We're probably 15 miles from the ranch anyway. And probably 25 miles to the hard road out there. And if they don't have the water, they won't make it. They gotta drink the kettle water, if they can find it, and that'll make them sick.
My question to anybody looking at what immigration reform is and will be, a lot of people say, well, what's the path to citizenship? How long will it take? And all of those things that concern me. However, our question is really critical. Our question is, will people keep dying in the desert? That's my question. And if it says yes, then I'm not for that immigration reform.
Police will restore order.
While pressing for immigration reform, the Obama administration has set records for deportations, prompting protesters to heckle Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano at a Senate Judiciary hearing in February.
In 1986, the then INS removed, I think, about 25,000 individuals from the country. Last year, we removed 409,000. It's a record number. 55% of those had other criminal convictions, by the way. But it's the enforcement of and the removals that have caused some of the tensions that we saw expressed earlier today.
Deportations often split families apart. 19-year-old Palestinian-American Jenna Hakim and her sister Saba recall the night their mother Fatin was deported by immigration agents or ICE.
ICE came in. I was like drifting off to sleep when my mom came into the room and she was like, Saba, wake up, they're here to take me. My sister had asked the ICE officer what it was about, so they were like, they have a warrant for her arrest. The officer was reassuring my mom, don't worry, you'll be home soon, you have kids.
Fatin now lives with her sister in Ramallah in the Israeli-occupied West Bank. She came to the U.S. from Belize on a tourist visa in 1989. ICE deported her back to Belize, where she is a citizen. Leaving her American children was traumatic.
Goodbye, Brooklyn. Goodbye, New York. Please take care about my kids.
Because she has no Israeli identity papers, she lives in fear of deportation back to Belize.
And I understand there are rules and you can't break them, but I feel like there should be exceptions. That after 20 years, after building a life here, after having 4 kids here, that she was deported. Forget the fact that it's not fair to my mom. What about us? Aren't we American citizens? Aren't we born here? Aren't we supposed to be treated fairly and equally as everyone else? How is taking my mom away from me and my siblings fair?
The children's father, who is also an undocumented immigrant, is disabled and cannot work to support the family. So Jana and Saba must be the family breadwinners and try to keep the household running while going to school. Jana tries to show only strength to her family.
And they don't see me emotionally break down in front of them. I don't think they should, and I hope they won't ever. Because I want them to always look at me like, okay, I got to do what Jenna's doing. I got to move on and continue to what I'm doing so I could get my mother back.
Life is tough for their 16-year-old brother Mohammed. He is withdrawn, suffers from nightmares, and is doing poorly in school.
Hi, Mommy.
Hi, Habibti. Hamouda, you don't have school today?
Today's parent-teacher conference.
And who's going to go?
He doesn't want us to go.
Why? Why, Hamouda? That's mean you did something wrong.
No.
Who wanna go?
Mama, I'm gonna go.
Jana is hopeful that her mother will be allowed to come back home, although for now, Fatin is barred from re-entering the United States. Immigration reform may change that. Meanwhile, Jana attends a local college and dreams big.
The whole reason to my dream is my mom. So basically what I want to do with my life is I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a defense attorney, but I also want to be an immigration lawyer. So I'm working towards that to not only be able to help my mom in the future, but to be able to help to another kid's mother or another kid's family or another kid's whoever, because nobody deserves to go through this.
In 2012, 400,000 undocumented immigrants were deported. The only comfort this family has is what technology can provide. As the sun sets in Brooklyn, New York, and Ramallah in the West Bank, another day goes by that separates a mother from her children. Employment is the primary reason people come to the U.S. Nan Walden, a lawyer, rancher, and champion horse breeder, co-owns Green Valley Farms with her husband Richard, a 2,800-hectare pecan farm south of Tucson. Like most Arizona farmers, seasonal or temporary workers are important to their business. Temporary visas to work in the U.S. are limited, and at times, agriculture must compete for workers against higher-paying industries.
When the economy is good and construction jobs are booming and healthcare and hospitality jobs are booming, which are very important in Arizona, it's tough to get good workers.
Walden says the current temporary worker program doesn't meet the needs of farmers. She wants a change as part of comprehensive immigration reform.
We have 260 permanent employees, and then each time during harvest each year, we hire about 50 to 60 what we call seasonal workers.
She says modern agriculture requires skilled workers who are not easy to find.
I don't care for the term unskilled labor, which is often applied to farm labor, because today's farming is very modern, mechanized, high-tech. It takes a high degree of skill to operate the machinery. The machinery is expensive. It is easy to break down if a mistake is made, and that's very costly in our business. When we're harvesting, we operate our plant 24/7 in shifts, 3 shifts of 8 hours, and then we clean every week. So it's very important to keep things flowing or one gets behind.
When the economy is good and workers are hard to find, crops often rot in the field. Walden says bureaucratic delays can kill a harvest.
The current rules for getting visas for workers are just not workable. They're not practical. They require that you notice the job and to almost prove, which is almost impossible, that an American doesn't want the job before you can hire. And if it takes 45 or 75 days to do that, you've already lost your window of harvest.
Judith Gans with the University of Arizona says meaningful immigration reform will solve the temporary worker problem.
The way I think about illegal immigration is that it's a symptom of a mismatch between pressures that are pulling migrants in and driving them to come to the United States and what the economy needs and what the legal channels provide. We have this mismatch. We have an obsolete system, and meaningful immigration reform will fix that mismatch.
As a rancher and business person who lives and works less than 50 kilometers from the Mexican border, she says building a bigger border fence will not solve our immigration problems.
Let's remember, our greatest trading partners are Canada, Mexico, and China. But of course, Mexico is very important. Mexican tourists come up and spend money in Arizona and vice versa, and this should be a synergistic relationship. So when you hear of a simple solution like just make the border more secure, you should be suspicious of that, because those of us that live here realize that there is no such thing as a simple solution, and it needs to be well thought through.
Through most of its history, the U.S. has welcomed the tired, the poor, the persecuted, and those weary from war. Many have gone on to make great contributions to society. Some by weaving the rich threads of their native country into the tapestry of American culture through art.
If we didn't get to come to America, would I become a filmmaker? Probably not.
Using his Vietnamese heritage, director Minh Nguyen has just produced his first feature film, Touch. Minh and his wife live in Los Angeles. His older brother Long, sister-in-law, and nieces live in a house built in Minh's backyard. Minh and Long come from a family of 10 siblings. But somehow the lives of these brothers are linked, unlike the others, since childhood.
I'm the one that take care of him. And I remember when I even went to my mom, delivery room and saw him as a baby.
There will soon be another child for Long to babysit. Minh and his wife are expecting their first child.
When my kids are enough, I guess I would tell them about my adventure, how my parents brought me over to America.
Minh's adventure almost cost him his life. Long and Minh were both born in Vietnam. Long remembers frightening moments during the war.
Every night, we huddle under the staircase because that's the most solid part of the house. And we hear, hit all around the neighborhood. And in the morning, we find out which house get hit.
His large family decided to escape by boat in small groups. Long was in the first group to escape the country. A few years later, 8-year-old Minh fled with more members of his family. Like many of the Vietnamese boat people at the time, Minh and the other refugees drifted at sea.
There was a priest on the boat, a Catholic priest. So when we ran out of water, everybody was kind of prepared to die. So the priest performed like the last mass, so to speak.
Everyone in his family survived and made it to the United States. Minh excelled in school and graduated first in his high school class and became an American citizen.
I was very moved, very inspired, very proud, and I felt like I had accomplished something.
Minh went to college and studied biology, but found his true passion was to make movies.
It's great to have Long as an older brother because he sort of paved the way for me.
At the time, Long was a poor but happy artist.
I remember my mom yelled at him so much for doing that, but he was really courageous and he stuck with it.
Minh enrolled in film school, graduated, and started pursuing his passion. His brother Long played a role in Minh's first feature film. The movie Touch is about the relationship between a Vietnamese manicurist and a mechanic.
We won Best Audience Award for feature film at the Vietnamese International Film Festival. So that was strange to me. That was the irony because my parents brought me to America for better opportunities. And now I brought my movie back to Vietnam.
Minh says his child will have the same opportunities he's had here in the United States.
I would tell my kids just to take the journey and don't worry about where you end up.
The audience, please stand. Raise your right hand.
For the almost 200,000 immigrants that are naturalized each year in the United States,
congratulations.
It is a pathway filled with anticipation, joy, and a sense of pride to belong to the ever-changing face of America. Whether the legislation passes or fails, the reverberation of this decision will impact and shape the future of America for years to come.
LBJ used to ask lawmakers, do you want a bill or an issue? A bill is a deal that you make, a compromise, you solve something. An issue is something that you keep on taking to voters. It's not clear to me whether Obama wants a bill or an issue.
President Obama, I think, is looking at, it's also a legacy question, right? Does he want to be remembered as somebody who has deported more than 1.5 million people? Or does he want to be remembered as somebody who welcomed 11 million new Americans to this country?
Those people that arrive here because something was missing in their home country. Economic opportunity, religious freedom, political rights. So they come here because they value that. And that's what strengthened our democracy.
We've got to secure our borders. Before we even begin to talk about what do we do with those that are here, we need to secure our borders.
And to say that we're going to have a class of people who we're not going to give on a path to citizenship, I think is suicide. It takes away the genius of this country. Citizenship isn't about status. It isn't about we're being born here or not. It is about who we are.